Nick shot me a pointed look across the hall.
Why haven't you asked me to help you?
Because you make my girly parts quiver in a very unprofessional manner. But I couldn't very well tell him that now, could I? Better think quick, Tara. You looked, gorgeous, sexy as hell, absolutely boinkable. I went with busy. He grinned, flashing his chipped tooth, an imperfection that somehow only added to his primal appeal.
I fake it pretty good, don't I? That's how I got fast-tracked to senior special agent.
Nick's career as a special agent with the IRS had indeed been meteoric, at least until 3 years ago when he'd been forced to flee the country or die at the hands of Marcus Mendoza, a violent, money-laundering tax cheat. Luckily for Nick, Lou had later assigned me and Eddie to renew the case against Mendoza. After the creep threatened Eddie and his family, I'd smuggled Nick back into the U.S., and the two of us had brought Mendoza to his knees. Literally. Hard for the man to stay standing after I'd shot off his left testicle. I'd considered taking the gonad to a taxidermist for mounting, but I doubted my mother would let me hang it over the fireplace back home next to Dad's 16-point trophy buck. Nick sat up at his desk, his expression serious now.
You gave me back my life, Tara. I'll never be too busy for you.
Nick was directly offering to help me out. No girl in her right mind could say no to that, even if she had been avoiding him. There's only so much willpower to go around. I hung up the phone. "Saddle up, cowboy," I called across the hall as I stood and grabbed my purse. "We've got a chicken farmer to check in on." We snagged a car from the Treasury's fleet and drove for what seemed like an eternity through flat, dry country. The radio was tuned to a country station to combat our boredom, and the air conditioner turned on full blast to combat the outdoor temperature, which had topped out at 103 degrees. That's August in North Texas. Brutal. Nick had brought his stress ball with him and manipulated it in his right hand, slowly turning it and squeezing. His movements were oddly sensual and had me wondering how his hands might feel squeezing certain parts of me. Splat! We drove past a farmer driving a green John Deere tractor through a field, kicking up dust and scattering insects, most of which veered on a suicidal path toward the windshield of the car. I was glad I wasn't driving my precious red convertible BMW out here. Splat! Splat, splat! Splat! A colorful assortment of bug guts now decorated the windshield like miniature Rorschach ink blot tests. One of the spots looked vaguely like our boss, who'd sported a towering strawberry blonde beehive since the 60s. Her hairdo had to be at least 8 inches tall, held together by a thorough coating of extra-hold hairspray. I pointed at the pinkish goo. "What's that look like to you?" Nick squinted at the glass.
The Lobo?
My thought exactly. Nick glanced my way, and my crotch clenched reflexively. He always looked hot, but he was especially attractive at the moment. He topped his stylishly shaggy brown hair with the white felt Stetson I'd bought him shortly after sneaking him out of Mexico. Yep, I had a soft spot for cowboys. Make that 2 soft spots. One spot was metaphorical, the other was between my thighs. Nick flashed a mischievous grin.
You know what's the last thing to go through a bug's mind when he hits your windshield?
I shrugged.
His asshole.
I rolled my eyes and pulled to a stop behind another white government-issue sedan parked by a rusty gate. Here we are, the middle of BFE. A spray-painted plywood sign affixed to the barbed wire fence read, "Property of the Lone Star Nation. Trespassers will be violated." Nick groaned.
You didn't tell me we'd be dealing with idiots.